So we finally have a bit of sunshine for the first time in days. So I thought I would bring you out to my vineyard. Welcome to my first ever vineyard. It is 100% Sangiovese. It will be made into wine by Patrick and a winemaker, into Brunello di Montalcino, Rosso di Montalcino, and Brunello Reserva. So we have 0.6 of a hectare, I believe it is. It was planted less than 30 years ago, sometime between 25 and 30 years ago. The vineyard was planted. The trellis system's in pretty good shape. I can see some issues right here where we have some posts we need to fix, but for the most part the trellis system is in pretty good shape. The ground cover, the alleys of the vineyard, are not in the best shape. They've been heavily driven on and compacted and have a lot of weeds, a lot of ruts. So we're going to start by cultivating and tilling the vineyard rows. This magnificent olive tree sits right here. It's gigantic. I'm against tilling for a lot of reasons. Number one is it destroys the microbial soil system that's in the first however many inches you go down when you till, and it reaps havoc on your soil. So it's not the best thing for it, but we need to incorporate all this green and weeds into the soil to feed the soil and roll it in order to get it level, get rid of the ruts, help break up any compaction, and then seed with a direct drill seeder a new cover crop that will have a spring summer cover crop and a fall winter cover crop. And then we can after that do a minimal tilling rotational basis type thing. So that's more to come on all of that as I figure it out and work through what I want to do. So this morning, before the rain got too heavy, I started on the far right side of our vineyard over here where the rows are shorter and worked my way this way. And I was going up and down every row and looking at each plant, and we've started tagging the plants that are dead. So we've put the red and white caution tape on the plants that are dead so that we can arrange to get them ripped out, and we can order replacement vines for early spring so that we can get our crop level, or I guess our yield, back up in the next 3 years to what it should be. I was hesitant in getting replacement vines for this coming spring because we have a lot to do in terms of some trellis repair, weeding issues, the tilling, the ground cover, figuring all of this out. But it takes 3 years to get your first crop that you can harvest for wine. So if we wait another year, that's 4 more years to get our yields up. And between now and then, we're going to have more vines that die. So better late than never. As you can see here, our trellis system changes here. And the reason why I believe there's 5 rows where we have sort of a double trellis system. And these rows are much shorter because there's some big olive trees at the back. So in order to double up capacity, they went with this version of trellis system. So we can actually have the plants spaced closer together. If you can see here, we can have a trunk here and a trunk here, but then that trunk is going out to this far side of the trellis, and this is coming to this side of the trellis. So the canopy has space, but we've condensed where their roots and their trunks are. So it's different. I haven't seen that trellis system in use in Canada, but that's the only reason I can think why they're here, is so these short rows actually could hold more vines. We have some rose bushes at the end, but upon research I've also found out that roses have been bred to be mildew and well, I guess I should start saying that roses used to be planted in vineyards in order to be the first indicator of mildew or other insect issues, because the roses were more susceptible to it. You would see at the end of your row the issues on the roses first before it got to your vines, so you had time to mitigate those issues. But over time, roses have been cultivated and changed so that they are less, or more resistant, I should say, more resistant to all those sorts of things. So yes, they look nice at the end of the vineyard rows, but new varieties of roses are not good indicators if you have disease in your vineyard, and you'll actually not often see it on the roses, and it will be in your vineyard. So it's kind of we have to make the decision whether we bother planting roses because it looks pretty, or if we just don't because we know that it's not really useful. You can see here we have a trellis issue. This would be clearly where a tractor came and smashed into the end trellis post, and that needs to be replaced. So I got through about half of the vineyard this morning tagging before the rain got too heavy, and we've got between 2 and 4 dead plants in each row that need to be replaced. A couple rows are worse than the others. I'm going to try and finish up the rest of the rows tomorrow. We've got number tags ordered to number our rows because we don't know how many rows we have yet, and I want a clear indication of aisle numbers so that we keep track of what we're planting, how many we're replanting in each row or in each panel within each row, so we can document and keep a better track of the vineyard progress and issues, and see if there's any type of pattern that we see based on different rows. But we've got beautiful forest. You can see along that whole property line of the vineyard, and then you can see our wall, our stone wall back there. It goes down through the forest over there. We've got some olive trees there, and then more forest, and our property goes that way quite a ways. And then we have the olive trees that start, and the house is back that direction. So I thought, finally a little bit of sunshine so you can see my vineyard, even though it is a mess. 5 years from now, it's going to be spectacular. Buongiorno. It is Saturday, and we have action on site today, as well as every other day this week. Landscapers, gardeners are here. They've been hard at work. They removed the bushes that were in the center of the driveway here, which was silly looking and ugly. So they removed those, and the pathway to the pool has been widened. So the olive trees that were just the suckers and not very nice looking olive trees have been taken down. So the new pathway will go in there, double what it is, with pergola over top, and you can actually see all the way down to the pool. That's the pool deck back up in there. The agricultural tree expert guy was here yesterday and walked the property with us, and he instructed the guys in what trees to take down. And so we've had several olive trees removed. They're hoping to transplant some. They're working on one right now that they're trying to transplant, but they've also cut down several that were suckers and way too close to the other ones. He said the ideal planting is 6 meters by 6 meters perimeter around an olive tree, and some of these were less than 3 meters, so they're just encroaching on each other. For example, this row, center row, shouldn't be here. It should be that tree to that tree, that tree to that tree. This row should never have been planted, so a couple of them he's taken down. And they're cleaning up. They've got some heavy equipment on site today. They've offered to teach me to drive it if I want. So that's going on between the driveway and the vineyard, and you can see the vineyards in the distance there. And then over here on this side, they've been taking down the olive trees and pruning the olive trees for where the greenhouse is going to go. So they've taken a few out and they're up in the trees as we speak, pruning and cleaning up the trees that will stay, that the greenhouse will nestle in amongst. As I get to the end of the driveway turn here, where you come down and Il Pozzo, which is the well, is there. We've decided that, so the chicken coop and chicken run are going to go here. So in behind the well and in front of the shed, that shed may come down, but around this great big oak tree, that is where the chicken run and chicken house are going to go. And here on this side, under this great big oak tree, where the bench is, this is the duck area. So my Indian runner duck area, enclosure and pen and pond are going to be in this area, and that way I'll have a door that I can open to send them into the vineyard to do their work in the vineyard, and a door on this side that I can send them into my vegetable garden so they can eat all the slugs and snails and baddies. Come down here, they're going to remove these olive trees for us because they're way too close to the vineyard rows, and it's impossible to get the tractors in here in order to get up and down each of the rows. They're just encroaching too much, and we have so many olive trees, it really doesn't make sense to save them at like 3 when it's causing all kinds of problems with the vineyard. It's also creating shade in the afternoon, it's creating restricted airflow, and then the tractor issue. So they're going to remove those for us, which is great. Patrick and I have spent the last several days in the vineyard. We've collected 2 huge bags of garbage from the vineyard, which was garbage and debris and waste and the packaging around new vines that they put. So for example, that is the solar tube protective that you put around a baby vine, but they disintegrate over time and they just didn't clean it up. So we went around cleaning that sort of stuff up today. Well, for the next week, we're going to be working on working around in the vine rows to clean up in the vines, within the vines, the weeds with a cultivator and a hand weeding knife. And we're hoping it dries out a bit so that we can get our farm hand on site to do the tilling of the rows, but that might have to wait until February. We've also gone through and tagged the vines. So I've got red and white flagging tape where vines are missing, where a vine needs to be planted, or where a vine is dead, or I have orange tape. And the orange tape recommends trunk training. And trunk training is when we're trying to grow a new main vine trunk. So every vine will end up having little suckers on the side, or little buds, I shouldn't say suckers, little buds on the side, trying to grow another new cane, which this is a cane. And so we're gonna let 1 or 2 of those buds burst and grow into a cane with the purpose of replacing this vine trunk with a new cane, which will become a new trunk, so that we have healthier trunks moving forward. So it's a multi-year process of doing that. This one, for example, is tagged, it's dead, poor thing, the vino è morto, So it's dead and it needs to be removed. Patrick and I will try and remove as many as we can in the next 2 weeks while we're here, focusing on the smaller ones, and then the Alton, our farmhand guy, we will ask to remove the bigger ones because they will chain them and pull them out with the tractor. And then we will be ready to receive our new vines that we've ordered. So we have 180 dead vines, which I was a little concerned about the number, but the consortium, Leonardo at the consortium, told me that that's okay for the age of our vineyard and the fact that it hasn't been taken care of properly for the last few years, that's okay not to be concerned. So we've ordered 200 vines to plant. So that will be my February and March task, with hopefully some hired help to get them into the ground. And yeah, so we've been busy. The vineyard's looking a bit better. The garbage pickup made a big difference. The tagging the vines gives me a bit more comfort knowing that we've got a game plan in place. And now when we get the handheld tiller and our vine knives out here in the next week, we'll see what we can do to get it looking a little bit more managed and controlled. Welcome to the front of the house, which is a construction zone to say the least. We've got piles and piles of stuff, but it's somewhat organized and logical, which is kind of interesting. This is the stone that they've taken out of walls that they've opened up, and they're saving the stone from the old farmhouse in order to use it for the retaining wall that goes around the perimeter of the vegetable garden here. I thought we would go on a little tour inside, going in through the kitchen. We can open it up. And they were hard at work in here. So one of the biggest things I didn't like about the kitchen was that the exterior stairs go up outside, and they finished it off with these hard angled concrete plastered ceilings, and I didn't like how that looked, and I couldn't wrap my head around how we could improve it, where we've got these flowing arches here and beautiful wood beams here, and then these hard, ugly, angled lower headroom areas there. So Lorenzo and I, my architect, and I decided that we would soften it, and they've used the old stone that they've recovered from other parts of the house, and they've created this beautiful flowing arch that the kitchen, fridge, and cabinetry will be all nestled in underneath. So it's just a very smooth now bend, and softens the space and makes it fit with the other arches. So the same will happen on this side, and it'll just be such an improvement and flow with the look of the kitchen to have those arches and then the arched doors. It's awesome. So they started that just yesterday, and that was a surprise to see it actually, the first one, be done. So that's beautiful. And then we go through the kitchen doorway into the house, and it's the little details. So this is the new internal staircase that they've built. It will be covered in wood stairs, but they've used this old reclaimed wood that they've gotten to create the supports, and then they've put the clay terracotta tiles under the stair, just like the staircase would have looked had it been original, which is the same as the ceiling. So it's just the little touches that they do that make me so happy. And there was a big hole in the ceiling here that they've filled in and made it go away, and you would never have known it was there. You can see a lot of troughs and jackhammer work that's been done, and it's mostly for in-floor heating pipes that are going to run. This is going up to the air conditioning unit. So any of the electrical runs, they've jackhammered in the walls in order to embed the conduit, which these services will run through. So in the living room here, you can see great big crevices up to the other air conditioning unit. The jackhammering of the window frames has all been done, so all the window framing is out, and the window frames are supposed to be arriving this coming week, so that will be exciting to see that. The wall dividing the apartment from our side of the living room is half done. So it was done a bit yesterday, and now they'll fill the rest in, but leaving open for the pipes to run through. Go out onto the terrace. You can see it's a beautiful day. It's chilly. It's single digits here right now, but it's supposed to go up to 10 or 12 today. And so the patio will have new patio terracotta covering, and these which are the covers for the rain collection tank, which is down below, they'll be replaced with new covers that are level and flush with the new terrace floor, with holes so that we can lift the covers up if we need to. You can see the apartment bedroom ceiling is looking fantastic, and the jackhammering of the wall for the air conditioning there. Still lots to be done here for electrical and plumbing. It's coming along, and I'll take you upstairs in the next video.